What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ryan Sutton, for the YDK podcast, where you don't know what you don't know. And today, we got a very special guest, one of my best friends, one of the people who absolutely has built me to be who I am today, and been an integral part of that, and probably one of the most genuine people I know. And my man, Tyler Parker, goes by Ty, but Tyler Parker is going to be here today. Man, he's here to tell us really what we need to know about empathy as a leader, having a heart for people, and deriving your why from helping other people. And we're just going to dive in, man. Tyler, let's kind of talk about a little bit more so for everyone who doesn't know you, kind of where you grew up, what your lifestyle was like growing up with your brother and, living in North Carolina. Jump into a little bit about that, like as far back as you want to go, man. We'll go dive in, and then we'll jump into some leadership stuff a little bit later.
Yeah, that's a heaping question. Originally from North Carolina. Grew up, I was with my mom. So mom split when I was 3. Mom and dad split when I was 3. Zeke, obviously being older brother, grew up all together. Originally from North Carolina, did 15 years there. I mean, surrounded by people that just do the same thing every single day.
Like what? Nothing. Like what was it, like super small town feel?
Yeah, small town. There's cornfields everywhere. We lived mobile home to mobile home. It was nothing. Yeah. Nothing really. My where I lived at was called Lazy R Boulevard. It was a big circle that we used to go-kart around and shit, and just no one was really doing anything. We had our stairs actually taken one time to the front of our doorway, so we had to go through the back door.
You had your stairs taken?
Yeah,
like someone
you
like
just
straight
take them off a mobile home, like right in the front of them. They weren't like screwed in. People that do know that are from mobile homes, you could just take the front stairs off. But I grew up, I had anger issues in the house. We had a stepdad that was like abusive to older brother. I've done stuff, pulling knives out, like trying to break out fights, like crazy stuff you wouldn't think about.
Like what age was that happening?
Oh, that's like 8, 9.
8, 9, and you're watching your 10. Older brother just
get his ass completely beat. Yeah.
Holy shit.
And then it changed a little bit. My dad had seen that. So side story outside of the lifestyle, but Zeke actually burned his legs playing with fire. For all the people watching, please don't. That's it's not something to mess around with. Stop, drop, and roll actually doesn't work. From someone who actually burned their legs, being Zeke. But my dad had came down, or our dad had came down, and then he was there for maybe a good couple months and just saw like the lifestyle we were living. He went back to Germany where he was stationed at, and then ended up actually taking me over there and was like, hey, you need to come out and get out of that lifestyle.
That's right. Your dad
actually left out of that.
Your dad was in what branch of the military again?
Air Force.
He was Air Force as well? For sure.
23 years.
23 years.
Yeah, now he's up in Dallas, retired, loving life.
What age did he say, yo, let's hop out, let's go to Germany for a little bit?
Oh, man, I think at that time he was around 30s.
What about you?
Oh, hell, I was 15. 14.
15? 14?
I was just graduated middle school.
Oh, so you're about to enter in high school.
High school, where that's where it's like,
now you're getting dropped off into another question, or
that's
another
people
country.
Like, kind of like, let's try and, high schools where people are like, let's smoke weed, let's do this, let's do that. He always experiment with different things, and like that's where kind of the maturity gets the most. You get your license. I didn't get my license until I was 18. Actually, in Germany you can't drive. It's 18 there. So I just didn't drive until I was almost 19 years old. I didn't drive a car. So
well, driving with you, that makes a lot of sense.
Totally. Still no car wrecks. I'm good.
So what was it like going from, you're 14, you've had a little bit of trauma with watching what happened to Zeke with your stepdad. Now you and your pops are going over to Germany. He's being stationed over there. You're going to start high school in a whole different country. Like what?
It was a culture shock for sure.
Like describe 100%. That culture shock. Like what was that like for you? Like mentally, you're going from North Carolina.
Oh man! So first thing I got there,
that's a big difference.
First thing I went to the first day of school, and you think like going to a new high school where you're kind of like the new kid essentially, but like in a foreign country, it's kind of just like, do they speak German? Like I didn't know like anything. I didn't know what a military base was. I didn't know anything about that. So I'm like, do I have to learn German? Like, how am I going to communicate with these people in high school? And then went to on the base and went to the school. It's actually, at that time, it was Bitburg, Germany, is where I went to high school. But that base is closed down now. Been closed down for 9 to 10 years, maybe possibly more. But when I went there, I like went on the base, and I'm just like getting off the bus, and like buses are completely different there too. Like it's not like the typical brown seats straight back.
Yeah.
Like Germany has seats that are flipped a different way.
Oh,
So you like face away from the driver. Yeah, it's a way different lifestyle. So I'm just like getting on the bus, and my parents are like, just enjoy
go
your first
about it.
day. And I'm like, like what am I supposed to do in that? Like, and I got there, and I got to the school, and the first thing I like got up in class, introduce yourself, yada yada yada. But everyone else, they're like military background, like so they know like. You see different races, you see different cultures, you see like more so like where people are from, and it like mine is just like North Carolina. I don't hear my accent, I don't hear how I talk, I don't hear anything like that.
Oh.
And I go there and I'm like, I get up and at that time I was going by Tyler, so I was like, my name's Tyler, this, and then after like the first class, they're like, oh my god, I love your accent, and I'm like
accent,
what? Like what are you talking about? And then like that's when I said y'all. Like it meant y'all. Like I was y'all.
Oh
and
yeah.
now it's way different now, but being in different cultures and jumping.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I first got there, it was a big shock of just like not knowing anyone. And then I only did a freshman year there, and then I went back to North Carolina for about 10th grade. I just didn't like it over there.
Really?
Because like no one really didn't know anyone. Like everyone I grew up with for 15, 16 years is in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Went there, and that's a whole other side to get into. But yeah, it was a big culture shock for sure.
Well, I mean, we got nothing but time, so might as well just jump right into
it. So I went back to when I went back to North Carolina. I had at that point there was a guy named Ricky and this is where people start experimenting with guns, all this nonsense that people do, and he actually ended up taking like a shotgun, and they were playing together like one of these two buddies. And it's actually that was the first time I went back, and then he ended up passing away, but he didn't know the shotgun was loaded. His other buddy, and actually shot him straight in the chest.
No
way. And each time, so I went back, so that whole sophomore year I did a full year. Then I went back to Germany. Then I came back again, and another buddy of mine named Tanner had done the same thing. And he got shot again. And each time I went back, someone had passed away that I knew. So then I just stopped going back.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
man.
It was very weird.
So freshman year, you finish out, you come back, sophomore year, full out, finish it, homie gets...
Yeah, I went to his funeral and everything in the home gym.
And then...
They did an open casket. I'd seen him, everything.
Damn, and then so you jump back to Germany for one more year.
Yeah.
Come back.
And then my dad had retired is why I went back. So it's actually uncontrollable.
Really? So you had to leave Germany.
Mm.
And then senior year... Or just that was junior year.
Finished it, and then I went to San Antonio, and then Tanner passed away. I went to San Antonio, went to the school on base there, because my dad was retiring. Then I went up to Dallas, and that's where I kind of like got like the maturity and like working and
right.
That's where I kind of like grew up essentially, where I was like, oh, I'm on my own.
And then when did you enlist in the Air Force?
I was actually, it was 2016, but I'd done the recruiting thing in 2015, and then I left January 12th of 2016.
All right, so tell me about your experience in the Air Force.
Are you sure we got a lot of time? That one is. I mean, 4.5 years.
4.5 years. I know you definitely traveled quite a bit. You spent a lot of time in Italy.
Yep.
Qatar, right?
Qatar, Italy, been to Kuwait. What was the other one? Dubai, Korea.
So
a lot of places.
Being exposed to multiple different cultures, right? Especially when you were young. Like, I think that's super important for a lot of people in our country. They don't get exposed to
not at all.
A lot of different cultures, especially at a young age. So they're very unaware of like how other people live, like what's like manners and things like that. Like, what was your biggest takeaway? First of all, like living in Germany young and then traveling the world with the Air Force in 4 or 5 different countries.
Oh, yeah, back to back, too. That was all in 4 years.
That's right. You never came back, huh?
No, I didn't come back. I would come back for leave. And that's where, like, the biggest one was, that's when you kind of realize, like, who is actually family. Like, who's actually, like, good
who's
friends.
Actually going to be hitting you up.
Like, people are telling to hit me up when I come back, and they're like, hey, I'm back in town. They're like, oh, cool, like, come see me when you can.
Come see me when you can.
I'll see you. I just flew 9,000 miles. Come see me. It's a 20-minute drive. Like, oh, that's far. Or like an hour is far. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I just stopped going back. Like, there was no point to go to North Carolina. And now there's actually no point at all because, like, the only homie I've known there like years ago, because I've told you about before,
Yeah.
is he actually, like, back when they were lacing fentanyl and cocaine and all this, is that he actually he passed away, and another buddy named Dane. So it's like, if I was still in North Carolina, I don't even know if I would be sitting here currently talking to you, honestly.
Yeah.
But going there is, yeah, the whole military. You work 15-hour days, 18-hour days. It doesn't, and I get 32,000 a year, 40,000 a year. I'm like, so when I first got here, it was like a no-brainer. Like, you telling me I could put 10 hours a day and I make 120,000 a year.
Yeah,
You're
for a
You
lot
would
of
catch
people who may not know, Ty here is a district manager for a Austin office here in door-to-door sales with solar, and his first year made six figures. His very first year ever in the industry, which is not easy to do.
almost didn't.
Almost didn't. We'll dive into that too. So after traveling a lot, going through the military and Air Force, after you got out, because you've had multiple different culture shocks. 15 years old, you go in Germany, big culture shock. Don't know anybody. Don't even know if they're gonna speak your same language. Come back, lose some sad deaths to some good friends. Enlist in the Air Force, and you're traveling around. You're working crazy hours. I know military life is not what a lot of people
free
say
dental,
it is.
though, free dental.
Hey, there you go. VA home loan, my boy. Let's go.
That's all they take. That's all it is. You get a VA home loan after your 4 years.
But what was your mindset like in the military and when you got out? Because all my best friends have gone into the military, and I've heard one consistent thing is like they break you down and build you to who they want you to be, and that messes up a lot of mindsets. And I mean, we've definitely talked to one of our friends, Austin, about veterans with the amount of suicides in that community and stuff. Like, what was your mindset in the military? What was it like for you? And then when you immediately got out, like, where were you at mentally?
Oh man, that's a main thing, because saying they break you down. It's like that's a really good question, because they break you down, and they build you back up to like who you want to be. So like, hey man, like anything we say for you to do, it's like they like brainwash you to be like, no, I got to do that for the mission, but they never explain what the mission is. They don't tell you what it is. So like here, it's like the mission is X. So I'm like, okay, I know the mission. So obviously I'm gonna follow it, given you can make a lot more. But
Right.
But when I was in, is all these times, like there's times where I'd do like 3 days of work, 4 days of work, and then when I got out, it's like I was like kind of like shocked of like what do I do now? Because I had a crane certification, forklift, like grader, all these equipments for. So grader's kind of like level and field, just another name for a piece of equipment. But I got out and I was gonna be a crane operator, and Zeke is actually the one that was like, no, that's like really dumb to do. And I was like, why? Like 120,000 a year. It's like a no-brainer for someone like from 35, 40.
Yeah, it's a big increase.
120,000, and all I do is sit in the crane. I don't do nothing else. I just do this and sit.
Yeah.
Well, who would not take that? You just sit on your ass for 5 hours and just lift stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why would I not do that? And then when I came to this, is like the mindset. I can kind of jump into when I first got here if you want to. Is that kind of the portion you want to hear?
I mean, kind of like talk about because I feel like there's like a consistent mentality for people who get out of the military. Like, what was yours? Like, where were you
Just
mentally?
where was I at?
Yeah.
Mainly was like, man, let me think back to when that was, because
that's a whole different person.
That's a very different person. I got out and I was more like just like, F this, F that. Like, no one's here. I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna go do my own thing. Basically, it was just me. Like, I more so was like, I know I can get money. I know I'm a hard worker, and I'm gonna find it. And that basically was just like a grind of like, I'm gonna show and I'm gonna make more, no matter what I'm doing in this year I'm out. I'm gonna make more than I did when I was in the military, and that's all I was focused on. It was more so like a culture shock. It was more so the greatest feeling ever was getting released from the military.
Really?
It was probably the greatest moment of my life.
Was it more like a relieving feeling, or?
It was so relieving.
Yeah. What would you think you were just most relieved of?
I don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. to drive and do jumping jacks. It's more or less. There's certain things in the military that are just, it's so political now. If anyone's watching, I would tell them that do not join the military.
Really?
You can join for the friendships, but like unless you have a deep passion to, go do something like kind of involving like
serving the country and
serving
stuff,
the country, or like, if you're just like a supply dude sitting back on base at the main home station, then you don't provide anything they can easily replace you. You're just a number.
Right.
So when I got out, I was like, cool, like I'm doing it my own way. I'm gonna figure it out myself, and like I don't have to have someone, like no one's telling me what to do. No one's checking to make sure I'm up. I don't set an alarm for 4 a.m. after I just got off at 1 a.m. So certain things, like just the freedom
Ooh.
I felt from, like, it felt like just like so much was lifted on my shoulder, and I kept all the friendships I had, but still I can just do my own way. Like so many people right now hit me up and they're like, dude, you're doing so well. Imagine if you did it sooner. That's all I hear. So
That's interesting. But I mean, if you did it sooner, you may have been a whole different road. So you never really know, right?
Yeah.
You just never
Everything
know.
does happen for a reason.
So you're out of the military. You know, for one thing, you're gonna make more than what you did in the military. You just don't know how. Now, Zeke, for people who don't know, Zeke is Ty's older brother who helped him get to door to door. Talk about that path of like how Zeke and you know, because there was times where you guys didn't even talk for years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like you guys literally
Not at all.
maybe talked like once a year.
Which no one would guess.
No,
Yeah.
not today. That's
Getting
for sure.
into it, he was just, and it's funny. There's in recruiting, there's always 100 list, which I strongly believe in. And it's funny is that Zeke had me on his 100 list, and it's like. Like your family, like you just text me and tell me the opportunity. Like I'm gonna do it most likely. But he had me on a 100 list, and he always, like, once he started taking it like serious. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people that knows his backstory. So it's like we went for it was about 2.5 years, almost 3 years. I just didn't never. I would text him, and you got to think I'm in Korea, I'm in Italy. I'm like 12-hour, 18-hour. Like when I call him, he's asleep. When he calls me, I'm asleep. So it doesn't make.
Yeah.
It's hard to, but if you're family, you're going to try to communicate. And there was just times where he was just focused solely on like what he was doing. So he wasn't like really involved in like anything I was doing. But when I got out, it was like we just started talking again, and it was just like the relief of like connecting with my brother, because like there was a crazy car wreck that he was in, and it's like I don't even know how he's here, honestly. And a lot of people have seen that picture, but there's a full Toyota Tundra that is the whole truck smashed, but the driver's seat. And, like, there's actual like full videos on it, like videos of him walking, and he steps out and only has a scratch. It's like, oh, you were meant to be here, and now he's serving a bigger purpose than he's ever achieved in his life. I believe.
Wow.
So
I
going
didn't
through
know
that, and he's went through. Yeah, he. I don't want to get too deep into it, but driving, doing whatever he's doing, and then actually hit an 18-wheeler, whole truck completely obliterated. You couldn't even tell what vehicle it was.
Yeah, I'll definitely dive in with him on his episode for that
100%,
for sure. My gosh,
so
that's
Ty was
crazy.
telling me.
Yeah, I'll be like, Ty was telling me you almost died, bro. You didn't even tell me.
Didn't even tell me. You didn't know about it.
Yeah.
He did all that, and then just the relief of like connecting with him again and seeing, because at first I was gonna go, for all the people watching, if they do, I was gonna go work at Vivint, but bless the door-to-door gods for not sending me there. Even though they build like animals, it's a really good company. They build
animals.
Breed savages for sure.
100%.
So I know a lot of people I even connect with that came from Vivint. But I was gonna go work there, and then he ended up coming here about 2.5, almost 3 years ago. And then I was like, cool, I'm following you. Like, I'm gonna do it when I get out. Like, I'm gonna try it. If you tell me it's so great, show me. Like, if it's gonna be something real, then show me something. Then he showed me a check for a heaping amount. I'm not gonna say it, but show me a check for a heaping amount. And I said, well, if you can do it, I sure as hell can do it.
Yeah.
And then I just jumped in right into it, man. That was a culture shock in a whole nutshell.
The story from when you started is very interesting, so especially when Zeke comes over to, the solar side of doing door to door, right? He doesn't take a check, he's just building his own thing. Starts with you. It's you and him in the house, right? Like, you guys were running meetings out of the house.
Yeah, out the crib. Yeah, 100%.
Like, you would hop out the shower, get dressed, and you walking downstairs, you're at work.
And I'm at work, yeah. To change that whole mentality of saying, like, okay, it's grind time, I need to sell. It's like completely shift of the mind. It's ridiculous.
Tell me what that's like, too, from going, because, like, I know, like, in military life, it's almost like you're accustomed to that bi-weekly paycheck. You're gonna get paid. It's always there. Then you're gonna say, nah, screw that, I'm gonna go strictly commission based, have no guarantee of anything. No guarantee of anything. Like, what was your mindset knowing that you were about to make that jump? I know obviously, you saw Zeke do it, so in your mind you're
that's
like,
actually it is the main reason. There's anyone watching this, like if anyone is like in sales, in door to door, and they have something to where they're like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and I'm not getting paid. It's like, I no matter what, I was like, if someone else can do it, I can do it, and I will make sure I will make money doing it. I went 6 months, and I was making like small checks just to pay bills. If it wasn't for the military with getting out and giving me that VA paycheck,
yeah,
this main struggle of my life. But it was only, we're taking $1,500. Like I'd have
right,
to, I came out with the military with savings, but all of it gone in 5 6 months, completely
yeah,
gone. Rent was $4,000. My car, I had a couple other payments, my phone, all that, like every month, and I never got paid for like 6 months. This is back when I'm driving an hour. I'm doing 10, 15-hour days, and it's the same as the military. But I'm like, I'm gonna get more from it, and I'm gonna find out how.
yeah,
Like I'm gonna keep doing it if I gotta go through 2 years of struggle. Like I don't that only the main reason why that drive is there is because of Zeke. It like that. There are some people that don't take appreciation of that, and it like just their leader that's above them. Like if he can do it, I can do it,
yeah.
and that's what
Do you think it's different for you knowing that like, that's your brother? Like
Oh,
this
yeah,
is
it
someone
does.
this is someone you literally grew up with.
Yeah.
Like you've seen him at his worst, you've seen him at his best, and you're like, if
100%.
this guy
Yeah.
can go sell solar panels, I can do that too.
Yeah, there's so much of a backstory on
Yeah.
that. It's like, some people are like, well, if Jerry can do it, my leader can do it, but they really just know Jerry from a year ago or when they signed
Yeah,
up.
like,
I
they
know,
don't-
like I've seen him at like an all-time like making no money, like picking tobacco in North Carolina. I used to pick blueberries for a living for $9 an hour. Like I'm not only working a couple hours, but I'm like 10 at this point.
Yeah.
I picked tobacco, picked blueberries, like mowed lawns. I've already had that like instilled in me, of like I'm gonna get after it. And Zeke had like he at the time period he didn't have that at all.
Where do you think like, and I don't know if you feel this way. Do you think like that attribute of like I'm just gonna get after it comes from something, or is it just like born with it? Like I feel like it comes from something
a
for
little
sure.
bit of both. There's people that can tap into it more or less easier because they have a higher belief in something. I kind of relate it to the Bible essentially. There's
Okay.
people that believe like I don't see them, but 100% it's real. Like miracles happen, and somebody on the other side is I believe in only portions of it. It's more like the same thing. I believe in portions of sales. Like when I get a sale, I believe that it works. When I get paid, it works. But those people on the other end where it's like, I don't matter if I don't sell any at all. Like I'm gonna get a check. If Ding Dong over here is getting bills and deals and submitting and getting installed, like what we're the same human. You're no different than me.
Yeah.
I just work harder than you or whatever it is. That's how I view it. 100%. There's nothing. The main thing is obsession. Like I'm obsessed with like signing someone up. If you aren't obsessed with what you're doing, you will not be the top 1%.
That's facts.
I'm completely obsessed with like changing people's lives. I've already been through a struggle. I will completely go.
Let's talk about
Insane.
that. That's like a powerful thing that since I've known you, I've noticed for sure is like your main driving factor is legitimately to change other people's lives. And people say that, and you always got to look at actions to really tell if that's like truth when they're saying that. And I look at your actions and it's too obvious that is your main
But
objection.
you don't got to keep telling us, man.
Yeah. But basically, man, like, where does that stem from? Like, when you were starting door to door, did you see this vision of yourself right now?
Somewhat, some not. Zeke put a lot of belief in me to instill that vision in my.
Yeah.
I kind of have an advantage being that we used to live together
Mhm.
when we first started to constantly see it and see it and see it. It was more so instilling. Zeke kept instilling the vision, instilling it in my mind. So it's more like I had a. Like it kind of the side one is like why is that so strong for me is like if Zeke did it to me, and it's like so much belief in someone that didn't give him the belief back to him. It's like it would be disrespectful for me to not show someone at least opportunity as a whole. Like
Say that part again where you said, he gave you so much belief, but you didn't give any belief back.
I mean, maybe about. I've given them 100% now, but when I first started, I've had multiple conversations like that. I hear them all the time. It's like, hey, I'm not getting paid. Hey, what's this? Hey, what's that? And then Zeke checks me as if I'm like a rep. Like I'm not.
You're not his brother.
I'm not his brother. Like, well, it's because you're not working. That's why you don't have money. Because you're just focusing on all this other nonsense. Focus on this. Like you're not doing it. It's like you get that from someone who's. I've grown up with your ass for years.
Yeah.
You talking to?
Yeah, exactly.
You used to do this, and this. You know, I'm not gonna say that, but you know, I get what he's coming at, and that's the respect. Is that now it's more like if I did that to someone else, it would be disrespectful if I didn't.
Right.
Like show them like no matter what they put into me, and Tyler, I watched both the podcasts with Mark and Tyler. Is with Tyler saying is like that guy's unbelievable. Like I just like all his knowledge. I listen to him talk for about a year straight. He can just keep talking. If he could physically do it, I would just listen. But he said something one time, and it was, "What happens if you invest in your people and they leave? But what happens if you don't invest in them at all and they stay?" It's like, well, when he said that, I was like, then who cares? I'll just give you everything I have. I'll give it to you. I don't care if rent's due, phone. If you're giving me 100%, then I'll double it. And if people that want to appreciate it, they do. If they don't, they go back to it. They go to another opportunity that is what they like. If you're not happy with what you're doing, but you aren't going to leave because I didn't invest in you. You're going to leave on your own decision. Is how I look at it.
Interesting. Now you've gone down a lot of paths of just giving. Like you're definitely classified.
There does come a point where it's more like
you are an over giver, my man. Like you give way too much.
Gift and a curse.
It is a gift and a curse for sure. I know if I ever needed anything, whether it just be like a meal, I know I could call you. But because I would say just in the last year and a half, I would say it's worked out 50-50 for you. Wouldn't you say? I would say probably the same amount of people. Like if you took a tally of how many people you've invested in, whether it be financially, time-wise, or whatever, in your specific...
I would say more than 50-50.
50-50?
Like 80 stay, 20 leave.
80 stay, 20 leave? For sure.
100%.
And then out of the 20 that left, like, what do you think? Like, did that hurt you at all? Like, obviously it's going to hurt you because you've given a lot.
Yeah.
But how do you look at that? When you've given so much... and yet it still wasn't like quote unquote enough for them to stay or to give you 100%.
Side, kind of like a side thing of that. I don't really view it like that. I'm more so as I gave you 100, and whatever you learn from my 100% is if you invest that in somewhere else, it just grows you. I view it as like this opportunity just wasn't what you were for. Like you didn't enjoy being here. Circumstances come up, installs take a while. You're not happy where you're at. You start working this job and your relationship starts going downhill, and it's just like somewhere it's something where you just don't fit. But whatever you learn from here, if you apply it somewhere else and you take that money and that brain and that knowledge to somewhere else and you elevate to a higher standard, then by all means, it's like I view it as like that was what you were meant to do. And if I was the stepping stone where you had to like step on me to get up to there, then I don't have no hard feelings at all. I still stay in contact with the 20 that left or the 30, whichever. I still contact them.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely do. I know that. I see it. So, what would you say for you personally, taking the steps into leadership that you have from when you like really took the reins of being like you're running a team of people? What was the difference from the beginning to now for you? Because there's been significant changes. Like obviously
100%.
Lessons for sure, but what's been like the main thing that you think you've taken away from the beginning all the way to where you are now, as far as just managing and leading people?
Oh man, delegating.
Delegating for sure.
It's probably the biggest one.
If you guys are listening, delegating will change everything for your business. I promise.
Yeah, that is. I used to micromanage like a madman. Like times where, like when I first started, because I had a car group. So I mean, you're more so probably saying when I first kind of got like people to lead is what you're kind of going at.
For sure. Not even
having them not like running a team, meeting, stuff like that. So I did that on the side. Was a DM of Austin, and then we switched to the team now that's ATX in Austin. So you have it to where delegating was like the biggest thing because like when I first started, it was like, set these appointments. Like I'm gonna train you this way. I'm gonna train you that way. I'm gonna make sure it's like it you line up to how I envision you to be a duplicate of me. But it was like once you got to that point, it was like no. Like hold on a little bit. Like let me make sure you're ready to do 100% of what I would do at 100%. And then it was kind of like if you do 80% of it, like at the volume I do, then it's like I have to give you that to so I can focus on and grow up in level because then you end up doing 100% or 80% stacking up more things. And that was the biggest thing for me is I never delegated. And then I finally, after people were hitting me up like, hey man, you barely respond. Like we were sitting there talking to you and you're just texting. Like you're on your phone, you're calling people, you're getting this, you're getting that, you're reaching out, and it's like you don't even have like I don't even hear what you're talking about because it's not important at this moment. And then like when I started delegating, I had more time for like when I first started, I couldn't even manage a relationship. I was so it was so much. I couldn't even fathom. There were so many accounts I was selling, and there were so many people I was talking to, trying to recruit, manage people, keep them happy, investing money. Like it was like, but I cared more about that than like the having a girlfriend at that time.
Right.
I didn't care about that at all. Like nothing at all. It brought me no value of nothing.
What would you say like during that time your main value was?
Oh, investing in people. I still stay to this day. I will have the biggest team that Sunder has ever seen.
Yeah.
And I will sell the most accounts. Like my name will be known, and recently it's been up there.
Yeah, it definitely
and the
has.
people on the team will be paid, and the people on the team will get recognized.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's finally happening.
Hey,
years of struggle.
As long as you're still persistent and putting that energy out there, it always will follow through no matter what. And it's definitely coming to fruition for sure. There's been a lot of very recent, like, extravagant success with your team. Like, a bunch, just to give you guys an idea, his team is nothing but quote-unquote rookies except for maybe 2 people.
Not even. No one's been through a summer in this company.
No one has been through a full summer in door-to-door in this office. And you're putting up numbers, I don't know, how big is your office again?
20, 25 people.
25 people, and you're smashing your region, right? You're top team in the region. You're cracking top 5 of the company nationwide. Like that's big things. Like what do you think for you being on the leaders, like being the face of that, has attributed most to the growth and just like the team, not the team that people would not expect to do well is doing so well?
Oh, the people that are on the team. I could not do this. Like I could not be at the volume I'm at currently by myself. I wouldn't be happy like doing what I'm doing. So the people stepping up and the people like here, the people that want to be here and they show up and they want to be the better version than they were yesterday and they're improving each day and they just have something they're fighting for. Like that's the only reason that ATX is at where it's supposed to be and where it has to be. There's like people stepping up and that I dragged along when I didn't delegate for so long, and then finally I'm like, just take it. Like they want it. Why would I hold them back? And I finally just let them take the reins. It's the greatest decision I ever made.
Yeah.
You being one of them. So.
Nah, stop. We ain't talking about me right now. But as far as like giving off delegation and letting people take the reins, what do you think was the hardest part for you for that? To like actually make that like step. To just be like, guys, I can't take over.
What was the hardest part about letting that happen?
Yeah, because that's not easy.
If they don't do it at the volume that I would want, then I wasted my time. That was the hardest thing, and then I set myself back again. That was probably the hardest one. But if you don't have failure in anything, then you won't. I can't help you improve if you don't fail. So then that's what. But the hardest thing, the initial thought was like, if they don't do it at 80% of what I would, like or to grow and help them grow, then it's like, well, I just wasted my time. But then once I had it done, it was like, oh, obviously, you have to fail to. I can't just assume you're going to do 80% of it.
True that. Man, one of my biggest things with you is you you definitely wear your heart on your sleeve. Like you definitely show emotion. You have the a substantial amount of like just empathy. Like what do you think for yourself as a leader has been your best quality in leadership?
You hit it right on the on the
I
coffin.
kind of figured.
Being empathetic. One of the all great leaders are empathetic.
Why do you think that's so important?
If you just can't like no one. It's the same. It's from the military, man. If you just have someone that just like all you do is just go to work and show up, it's like, why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I can touch your soul and figure out what motivates you, and actually I'm actually passionate about like where you're from. So like when I watch Mark's podcast, I'm like, what? I'm like, why am I in tears? I didn't go through it. Well, I didn't go through that. Why am I? So I like see that and I'm like, I'm like crazy not to like the amount of passion I have into seeing that. Like that's why it's so much about changing people's lives because once you get a big check like that, you just seeing like someone's like eyes light up like they see like their kid for the first time, you know, like their first newborn for the first time, and they're just like, oh my god, like 13 grand, like I put in the work for this.
Yeah.
I did this, and it's like I get to know like why you went through that so much is because of this. You didn't just go work do all that for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
I actually know the story behind like why you're here,
Right.
and that's like a lot of people struggle with that a lot. But I feel like it's the best quality ever. If you don't know your people, then you don't know where you're going.
So give some advice to maybe new leaders or people that are taking on people, trying to lead people, and maybe just struggle with that. Struggle with like, how do I not make people move, but how do I help people move and get deep into their like why they're doing what they're doing, so I can help propel them.
Definitely have a story for yourself. That's a really good question. Definitely have a story for yourself.
Like elaborate on that story for yourself.
So
in
like
what
where
way?
you came from, what you're fighting for. Anyone on my team, if I ask them what I'm fighting for and why I'm here, they know the answer. If you have any job, like you go to ask your McDonald's manager why he's here, because it's 60 grand a year. There's no like what are you actually here for? Like why are you struggling so much? And if they know that, then it's like they either follow you if they know your story, they either follow you or they don't. And if they choose to follow you, then you know that they're that's who it is. They want the same thing that I want. So it's like if I can make the path easier for you, then you're following me because you're influenced by me. So leadership is really, Zeke has said it a million times. Probably got it from someone else, but leadership is influence. It's nothing less and it's nothing more. If you're influenced by what I do, then you'll naturally follow because you want to have the same lifestyle or change your life for the better personally.
Where do you think influence like stems from for someone? Like to just have that kind of sway of like you're gonna follow me because what? Like why?
That's I can kind of go broadly or like kind of focus straight on solar. Would you more like outside of it is like I show you that it's possible. I'm in front of you, and any distraction or any struggle that hits is I take full reins of it. So like if my team doesn't sell, it's my fault. If my team doesn't have really good trainings, it's my fault. If people don't show up on time, it's my fault.
Sounds like a big sense of ownership.
Everything's my fault.
Yeah.
And I claiming that is like once I do that is if anything doesn't go the way Ty wants, it's Ty's fault. And then if they're like, man, it's like nothing seems to affect this guy, and I'm showing you it's possible. I'm out there knocking. I'm out there. I'm taking phone calls. I'm managing pipelines. I'm doing everything, and I'm still doing the same thing you're doing.
Right.
At a higher volume. It's like more so. It's like it's automatically like you if you really enjoy what you're doing and you want to be successful at it. If you see someone automatically doing it, and like no complaints. I'm never angry. I'm chill, and I'm doing the same thing you're doing, and then more stacked on top of it. It's like you have no choice but to be influenced. Is essentially like if you want a position, do everything the position's doing. I have no option but to give you the position.
Right.
So I did everything a DM did, and now I'm starting to do everything a regional does.
That's true.
And once I get good at it, Zeke has no option but to make me a regional. He can't say no. I do 300 a quarter. I have all these recruits. I have this much sales. That has no reason to not give it to me. But that's a side story. Got a little tangent.
Yeah, we can go off on that. I know you're super passionate about like one beating your brother. Like
Yeah, that's
that one, because I know you wanted to fast track. I know you beat being a DM as far as timeline, right, with Zeke. So now you want to make sure you double down on that and beat his timeline to a regional manager, right? What kind of like competition between the two of y'all like really fuels? Like how much percentage do you think it fuels you to get where you're trying to go?
100.
100.
I'll do it. I'll do it faster. I'll do it better, and I'll be the best regional that this company's ever seen, and I'll be sure of it. 2 months on my team and on top 6 on installs, and this company that does thousands a month,
Yeah.
thousands of installs a month, and I'm on the top. Because obviously, every team stacked on one gives you that big number for the compound of just obviously all those teams.
Right.
But being on in 1 month is, I have that much volume, and I don't like, not everyone's even bought in yet, and I don't even have like, not everyone's even like at their full potential. And I got this. I'm not like warned. Like next summer, it will be unleashed by next summer.
How do you? That's interesting because now I just got a few more questions that pop in my head. So, elaborating on the fact that you said your team's not even fully bought in yet. Like, there's a lot of people like not. Where do you think buying into something like people struggle with? Because I'm sure there's someone right now has an opportunity at their hands and they're not bought in on it completely, and that's probably more than likely what's holding them back. What would you say to that person?
That's a good question. More, like, who were you inspired by? Where's your vision? You have it written down? You got it posted? You got it in your room somewhere? If you ask anyone probably that's not bought in what their vision is, and then I look at the leaderboard. Leaderboard is I love looking at a leaderboard because it just shows me, it just the mindset. I can go down the whole line and look at someone's mindset just off numbers. I can look at like person that's kind of like top tier on our team. Won't say his name, but top tier on our team is like his mindset is there's nothing but positivity. And then I go slowly down the line and I'm like, I've never heard that guy talk about his vision. It's like we can instill and instill and instill until you want it for yourself. You won't. You don't want it as bad as you want. People tolerate not having money. People tolerate not showing up on time. People tolerate being called average. Like, you won't ever call me that. But you only tolerate that in which you don't hate. If you don't hate it, then you'll constantly let it happen. Like I never asked for money in my life, but I had to ask Zeke for $800 one time. The only time in my life I've ever asked for money. I've always done it my own way. That was the biggest pride check of my life. Ego, whichever. Biggest, like, just straight to the gut. And just my whole stomach just, like, constantly, just, like, I felt like I was, like, right before I had the phone call, whole body.
Dude.
You've been through it too, man. It's door to door. There's, like, my whole body's just, like, what? Like, oh, I gotta have that. And then he's just, like, he hits a reality check, funds the money. But remember his exact words. He said, he said, do what I say, but the next time you ask me, I won't do it. I said, I'll never ask you again. But that was a time when I had a wrong head on my shoulders.
Yeah.
I was.
What was your mindset?
You
like,
give a man 11 grand check for a month of work. Back when it finally hit, like when it was like that shift of door to door, when it kind of, you catch it.
Yeah.
And your eyes light up. You're like, oh, it's this easy. After you go through all the struggle of trying to make it your own way, and then you finally get bought into what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That hit, and then that's when I got a big check, and then I was like, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna buy that. I've been waiting to get that, because I'm like, I've never seen that. Like, when I got my check, I think it was my first check, biggest one, I think was like almost 11,000. And I'm like, all right, like, if this is possible, then I'm gonna blow this right now. I'll do it again. And I didn't know, installs take a minute. It might happen. I had some in the pipeline, but if they don't get installed by a certain date and you don't keep selling, it's a rough patch.
It was a very rough patch.
So I had that big check, and I was buying shit for my car. I was buying like shoes, clothes, new computer. like a new monitor, like
Yeah.
new bed sheets, like TV, Xbox games, the game I played online, all these little things, and then I'm like, okay, I have negative $800 in my account because my car payment had hit,
Yeah.
and I go, whoa, I haven't been checking what I've been spending, and then since that day, that is the time when I unleashed, and then the rest of that year, if I think back, that started. I think it was I think about June, right when summer was kind of hitting,
Mm.
and that's when I had no money. And you're in door-to-door sales. That's when you make your most.
Oh man.
So I was in June of that was my first year, and then the 6 months of that next year, of that rest of that year, I think the start of it I made like 50. The remaining of that year was 60 grand. Never asked for Zeke for money again.
How do you keep yourself? Because I feel like there's something that happens with people that come to this point, right, where you're like, yeah, where like financial struggles become so much that it's like a victim mentality, and you just kind of like shut off. But it sounds like when you went through that financial struggle, you turned that dial up, and you said, "Oh no, let's crank this bad boy up to 10." Like, how'd you keep yourself out of like, because what you focus on is what grows, right? Like if you tell a skier going down a slope, don't hit the tree, they're gonna just focus on not hitting the tree, and they're gonna hit the tree, right? How did you not focus on one, your reality check of like, yo, I just had to ask my older brother for $800 to keep my bank account from staying negative after making a bunch of money and blowing it? Like, how did you keep your mindset on like just straight on the path to like make sure you kept going and didn't let it beat yourself up? Because if you don't win your mind, like, you're fucked.
Yeah, you will not be in door-to-door. That's very true.
Yeah.
Keeping my mind on is that whatever happened, it was my fault, and I always say this because people go through it all the time, but everything's my fault. I don't know owners. Everything was on me.
Yeah.
And it was like, if it's hard to say because people go through, they can't make rent, they can't eat. It's like, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what's instilled in me. I'll find a damn way. If I'm homeless, I always ask people the same question when they come in. If you woke up tomorrow and you were homeless, what would you do? And you got those people that are like, oh no, man, and they always have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
They always have an answer. Well, I'd get up and I'd get after it. Then what are you doing?
Right.
Then you're not homeless right now. Why are you not doing that? So if you woke up and you were homeless today, you had no money, no food, would you stand like some of the people in this city with a sign? You'd go and get a marker,
Yep.
right?
I need
Just
help.
need food, or would you go get it? And then everyone has the same answer. I'd get up and get after it. Why aren't you doing it now? If you woke up and you had nothing to your name.
So why do you think people don't do that?
Because they it's the same as why people don't buy in a certain moment. Until it happens, then they'll do it. They don't prep for it before it happens.
Mm.
No one wants to work hard when they got their rent paid. They want to work hard after the fact when they know rent can't be paid. Once they know they can't make it, then they're like, oh, I'll put the work in now.
Yeah. A lot more reactive than proactive, I would say.
I'm always like, if I wasn't gonna make rent in 3 months, I didn't focus on it because it ain't there yet. I don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
And I know is that no matter what happens, I always think about it. I tell people to think about their worst, like the worst position you've ever been in, and then label both of them. Where are you at now versus over there? There's times where I had no food, eating ramen noodles, spaghetti noodles uncooked. Mom wouldn't let me cook on the stove. Microwave don't work, power's off. I'm eating PB&Js and bacon bits out the fridge. Like, put me back over there. This is nothing.
Yeah.
This over there is, I would not want to ever go back to that. Like playing video games all day. I'm drinking Mountain Dews and doing nothing, and that's like mom working 2 jobs. Stepdad's barely there. Mom's barely there. All I do is on summertime, I just drive my bike around. I was like, to go back to them where I had nothing. Like mom was like, not barely getting by, but if she didn't work 2 jobs, I can only imagine how much worse it would have been.
Mm-hmm. And
now you're telling me now is like there's people that have like this. Nothing in this job will ever compare to like losing your best friend. Never. Nothing will compare to that. Losing your best friend to something that he's obviously just one mistake in life cost him his life, and he'll never be around again. I'll never see him on this earth again. Nothing will it doesn't matter what I go through in this job. If I lose no money, or if I lose all my money, and that's why if I lose all my money and I lose everything in life, is that it doesn't matter what I go through here if I lose it all. It's like that's why I'm so invested in people. I was like, you could be in 1 year time. I have no idea if you're gonna be here, so I'm just invested in you. Doesn't matter what I lose. I'll give up all my money. If someone needed 10 grand a day to like pay for rent and like live, and I wanted to put my time and invest into them, I'd give it to them. I have no every materialistic thing in life does not motivate me at all. All of it's a byproduct. But little hit in the chest.
Yeah, man.
Shocker on you.
Talk to me about that, like experiencing losing your best friend.
Oh, dude, that was.
Because a lot of people may not have experienced death. I haven't experienced death in the form of a friendship because I've experienced death in my family, but my friends aren't my family. And
100%.
if one of my friends went down, I'd like whether it's you or like Robert or Cotton or anyone, like I don't even know what I would do, honestly.
Yeah, until you're in that situation.
Until you're in that situation. So like put me in your shoes, bro. Like what was that like, especially for a situation like that, because I've seen what it's done. Like one of my close friends lost a buddy to an overdose on cocaine or fentanyl laced cocaine.
I think it was a little bit after I lost my buddy. Your buddy did that. I'm pretty sure. It was just another one that was way back when.
This one was Joe was telling me, I was with Joe when he found out. I think it was like December.
Yeah, it was about a couple months after. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember that one vividly.
Put me in your shoes on that.
That one, so that was just about the time. So at that time I was with, I won't say her name, but my ex at that point. And no time was put into her. I just like shut off. But then I just kept feeding myself. So I used to, those couple weeks were always like, I didn't go back for the funeral because I didn't want to put myself in a mindset, in a surrounding that was like that. And I like what I was building. And I talked to, his name's Dylan. I talked to him every night before, and I was like, you know why I'm doing this. You know what it's for. And I just kept doing it over and over again, just talking to him. I was like, I don't need to be in North Carolina to talk to you, or wherever you're at, whatever you believe, wherever he's at. But I just constantly was talking to him, and I stayed here, and that's why it's like that mindset of like, I'm gonna stay here and I'm just gonna focus on building my team. Relationship, I didn't. It was very like disrespectful for what it was, but what I wanted to do is I just put all my time into my people, and I knew Dylan would understand it. But that was like break down all the time on that. Like I still haven't went back. I haven't been in North Carolina in years. My mom's still there. I don't go back. My mom can come here. I'm not going there. I won't go back for quite some time.
Yeah, there's nothing there for you, it sounds like, outside of your mom.
That's
just a lot of.
I'm working on getting her out of there, honestly.
You do this training in the office that's super powerful for people to understand, and it's the company we work for, Sunder, right? And you say, Sunder ruined your life.
Oh, that's my favorite training.
Yeah, it's one of mine too. Can you elaborate for some of the viewers and listeners, like, what that means to you, what that looked like, and why Sunder ruining your life was the best thing for you?
So the idea of the training, for the people that don't know, you have your lifestyle before, and you have your lifestyle of Sunder. And the main reason why people in any company they're in is they don't let the company just ruin who they are for the greater good. So at one point I finally was like, I'll just let Sunder, whatever Sunder has, a system that's in play, I'm just gonna just abide by it and just do whatever Sunder does. Whatever Zeke does, whatever closer does that sells and setters, whatever they're doing, I'll just do it. And I let go of the military. I let go of who I was. I let go of not like making 30,000 a year. I just stopped talking about it. So now I physically, the story or in the training, I can't go now. I can't go to the gas station and look in my bank account and go, do I got enough for this? I don't even check. But some people, there's like people that like look at their, do I got enough on
Yeah.
to get a bag of chips and a water?
Yeah, there's people transferring money from a bank account to
Switching
like
Cash
yeah.
App and hey, can you sell me real quick? I haven't done that in years, and Sunday ruined that. I can't go get a car for $3,000 and think I'm like good. But it's like that's like the idea of it. The idea behind it is like I can't like Sunday ruined me so much where I can't tell someone, yeah, the military is a better option. It ruined me so much I can't even do it. And that's my favorite training is like whatever company you're at, is let it just like destroy you. Like if you believe in that leadership, first off, yeah, don't grow in a company that you don't believe the people above you, because if shit hits the fan, that's who is gonna take it, or they're gonna let it fall on you. So doing that is if you believe in the leadership, is let that company just completely ruin you, just ruin everything. Like people always say, back at here, back at my last company, back at when I was doing this, back when I was over there. Well, at this company, I've never said that in my life. I will never. That last if that company was so great, I'd be there. If not, I'm in this room. I'm here to listen to you. You provide value to me, or I'll look for somewhere else. So that's how I view it.
Damn. Yeah, I love that training. That training, it took me like 2 or 3 times to go through it, of like really like making it hit me of like what it actually looked like, and like the emotional part of like letting go, because for some reason we hang on to an idea of ourselves and we tell ourselves that story of who we are in that present moment constantly. And I don't think most people are aware of like the internal dialogue that they have with themselves. And you're someone who definitely is super aware. What was your internal dialogue with yourself like before Thunder ruined you? Because I know when it did ruin you, it started up there.
Yeah, 100%. When I started, it was like there were people, I have family members saying wouldn't be good, and I was like believing them. And I was just like, I kept seeing just people just make money, and I'm like, outside of work, you do nothing. Like there's nothing like, how are you doing it so well? And I always look at people, and I was very judgmental, very, because there's people that are saying I wouldn't be good at it, you're not gonna do it. People like saying you don't fit in here, sales isn't for you, you can't do this lifestyle, you're better off doing this. Like I've heard all of it, and I'm like, I finally was just like, it just like kind of like you're like already down, and then just getting beat to death, like just keep getting beat and beat and beat and beat. It's like, when is it enough? And I finally was just like, I'll just dedicate a year to it. If it doesn't work out, then I'll go do something else. Like whatever, then I'll just let whatever Zeke says do, I'll just do it. And I just asked no questions. I didn't complain about nothing. No, I just let it. I completely sacrificed everything. I'll give it 1 year, and then fast forward a year later, I'm doing everything that Zeke did.
Right.
For other people to change.
And faster too. One of the biggest things that you say, and you say it so often, is like your biggest thing is making sure that you can help someone get to where you were or you are faster and with less struggle. Why is that one so important to you? Because sometimes, I'm not going to lie, when I think of like the struggle that I went through, I'm grateful for it. And I think it made me, grow that 10 times faster. And sometimes when I think about maybe having people not go through struggle like that, I feel like I don't know how that benefits them. Because like I know how that struggle benefited me. Like how do you, because I know that's a very important thing for you, is making sure they don't go through struggle that you went through.
More so when I say that line, I more so as the uncontrollable struggle. Like if someone goes through something, is like, hey, if you sell 5, you get paid on 5. There's no, you put in 100% and got 20. I wanted to where it's so easy. You put in 100, you get 120. So it's gratification towards you. Like I've done. There's definitely someone out there that has it done worse than me to start up. There's probably people that went years without pay, and they're like, why are you here? Like, why are you still in door to door? Like, you realize you've made 0 sales in like 3 years. Like, given that's extreme, but there's probably someone out there that went like, and now they're probably killing it.
Yeah.
But I went for like 6-7 months, almost 8 months of just nothing. And I would drive up an hour north, an hour back, And I had a Camaro at the time, stick shift. You imagine the traffic every day in that?
Dude, I-35 in Austin is, oh.
Yeah, so I'm driving up and down, up and down, up and down, and I'm not working the hours now like normal knock hours, like 2 to 9, 3 to 10, 1 to 8, whatever it is, 11 a.m. if you go out there. But I'm doing now. When I'm back in the day, it was like 9 a.m. wake up time. Like I'd be at the house, and then I'd go all the way to like 11, 12 at night is when I'd get home, and then repeat. And sometimes the meetings sometimes we didn't even have them. Like it was like, and it wasn't like, make sure you're trained up, Brian, and make sure you got everything you need. No, later, like, good luck selling it. Like,
Yeah.
We're all testing it.
We're all figuring
We're
this
all
out.
figuring out the best system. Like, good luck.
We'll let you know when we figure it out.
And the biggest month, our biggest month was our first month was like, we were thinking it's gonna be 30. Like there was no expectation. That's why I have so much appreciation for Zeke, is he built it from like self-made Austin.
Yeah.
There's no incentive or advance or help this. Like, went out of his pocket. Like the first portion, he was like 20 grand deep. Like no, if I don't get it back, oh well. Like,
Yeah.
nothing. And then I went there and I was just like constantly just up and down, north, just north and south, up and down for like 6-7 months. And like finally, after that like a year, I was like boom, and then it just like all hit me. And Zeke was like, yeah, you run this. My first time actually getting introduced to being a DM, I didn't even know I was doing. I didn't even know what it was. Zeke was like, hey, show up at the meeting at 9. I'm like, damn, it's a little early today. I'm like, a little early meeting today. I guess we got some early appointments. We're meeting early. And I walked in and I saw all the people that he had finally seen that I qualified. And it was actually last February I did 15 solar deals in 1 month. That was my biggest month at that time. And I walked in. It was just like, it was X name, all these people, and they were like people that were killing it at that time. But I had done consistently over time. I just always submitted one a week, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3. I never was always the big hitter of like 22 in a week, and then 5. I was always like 5, 5, 5, 5, 3, 4, 4, 4, just consistently stacking. The compound effect is super real. But once I walked in there, I was just like, like what's up? He's like, all right, yeah, grab a seat. We're gonna go over trainings for the week. Trainings. I'm still lost. I'm like, what? Zeke just didn't. He just threw me in there. Didn't say like what it was. He just put me in there.
So show up.
And I'm like, cool. So I'm just doing these. My first training ever was like the most awkward thing in my life.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Dude, tell me about your first training experience. Standing up in front of a group of people who are
choking up.
Sales hitters, like guys that and you're expected to bring some sort of value that
100%
adds to them.
Just like super red. Like, if I get like any type of like nervous, like I can't stand my dad for in giving this in my DNA. But anytime something is like, it's just nervousness, awkwardness, like flirtatious, or anything that kind of like puts me in like a spot of the spotlight. Essentially, I have to be confident that I'm there, but at that time I wasn't. So I was like just all red, like kind of going on. It's hot, sweaty. Oh my god, freaking out, and then I'm like bringing the value, and I'm like, look at this point, like, hey, like these are the 10 things. The training I did was the one that I've always done. It's actually really good training. It's the 10 steps on just like making like door-to-door fun. Like, why door-to-door so successful? There's 10 easy things you do, like make it a game, laugh, like smile, like certain stuff like that, like certain little list that kind of helps. But that was my first training ever, and like people were like clapping at the end, oh my god, that was great, and I'm just like. You like that?
You're like, oh, that was good.
Craziest thing in my life, man. And then I just slowly started progressing, and there's always struggles and everything. But yeah, definitely going through the struggle is I want people to do that, but like a struggle that there's no necessity of like going through that.
Yeah.
I don't want to put you through that. And there's still people to this day that I physically that they go through it, and I try everything in my passion for them not to, but
they still.
I can't.
Honestly, man, sometimes I think I found this myself, is like you can want it bad for them, and sometimes even more than them, but it's like I even found it for myself. It's like I had to put myself through a struggle of like just banging my head against the wall, even though I had people like you and Zeke saying like, bro, stop, like you don't need to be struggling like this, but for some reason I just put myself through it, and I'm still grateful for it. Like, it taught me a lot.
Yeah, there you're definitely one of the one you get. Some people get so hard on themselves for, and it's like I had to take such an ego drop of like, look, man, I can't do this by myself, and I still think of that to the day. Like I can't build this thing by myself. I can't build it by myself at all. And finally, man, I just like people just don't want it. Some people are stubborn. Some people are hard headed. Some people want like if I don't go through the struggle, I'm not gonna like it won't be as accomplishing. It's like you're sooner or later gonna hit a wall that's a lot tougher than you. It's Inky Johnson is like my favorite guy ever. I love watching his motivational videos.
Inky Johnson
is great.
Is definitely probably top two.
He says in one of his videos, he's like, at sooner or later you're gonna hit a wall that's a lot tougher than you, and if you don't have like a driving force for why you do what you do, then it's gonna like knock you down. So like I do it for the people. That's why it's so much like people don't want to hear me, but ain't no wall standing in my way. There's so much behind me that's just like boom. And if your only thing is like I'm doing this for myself, like there's sooner or later gonna smack a wall where you're gonna need someone. But yeah, Inky Johnson's video is definitely check that one out.
Yeah, Inky Johnson says some very profound things, and
great.
Like, actually, one thing that he said definitely stems deep into my why is the story of him on a plane for the first time, and he's washing his hands in the bathroom, and it says, "Out of respect for the people after you, wipe down the sink so we can leave it better than we found it." And I feel as like a human, it's kind of our responsibility to leave the place that we are like just thrown into better than we found it. And that stems really deep with my why. But kind of jumping in on one thing that kind of has been hitting my head a lot is when you were early on as a leader and you were investing into people and you had those first few people that aren't here, right? Like they're not here. And the investment, the time that went into it, they're gone. Like you're very good at disassociating, like, and letting not that affect you, right? You're like that. It's just a stepping stone to wherever they're gonna be. But was it like that always? Like when that first initial person where you invested time and effort into, like when it didn't work out, what was that like?
Oh man, it sounds like I don't know, it's like cocky or what. It was always like that,
it was always so like
I'm
that.
Like
you were
able like the best human in the world, yeah. But it always was like that. Like, because Zeke is, I would look at someone that's like has gained a lot of people and has lost a lot of people, and it's like, why is he so great at like how's it not bothering him? But because he's only focusing on the people that are there.
Yeah.
So it's like if the people that stayed, and they're all for it, he's like wherever they go on their pathway. That's that self-inflicted decision, like that you decided to do that. Not whoever's here. I'm gonna give them 80%, 100% of what I want. Like I'm gonna give you everything because you're here and you show up and you deserve to. Like I'm not gonna put my time and efforts and vision on someone and trying to save someone that doesn't want to be here, let alone deserve to be here. The people that are showing up that deserve to be here and show up and have the face of. I'm grateful for what this is and I want to be here. I'm just going to give them all the time. So whatever decision they made is like, go do it. If it works out, like, yeah, let me know because I'll go try it as well.
Yeah.
You know, if you somehow make $400,000 in 3 months, in due fact, tell me. I would love to figure that out. You know,
give me a call. Let me see what I can do.
Give me a call. I'd love to invest in that. Like, you know, yeah. I'm always going to support them no matter what. And that's just instilled. That just goes down to like I think like poaching is the most annoying thing in the world.
Yeah, poaching other
never
like recruiting from other companies and stuff.
If they hit me up, sure, but I'll never hit another rep up.
Yeah.
Never.
Why is that? Like, why do you feel that way?
It's just more like you made the decision to go to that company, and I want to build something that's organic. Like I have my faults where I'll reach out to someone that I truly like care about that I could see great potential in them. Mm-hmm. I have done it, but I've never went through with it ever. And it's just more or less is like. Someone has to go through that. Like you got to know that where home is. Like you have to figure that out. I can't I'm not gonna be the one to stir up. Like I never want my name known around as the guy with people from other teams that are here. No one on my team is they're not from anywhere else that I personally poached. They made the decision to come back here.
Right.
I didn't make the decision to tell them to come here, and that's probably one of the greatest things.
Okay.
Ever.
You've developed like really good culture for an office and for a team of people, like how first part of the question is how could someone build a culture that people want to be in and around? And what would you say the two main things would be to like develop a strong culture? Because just for people who weren't aware, we did a training in our office for ATX a few days ago. We're talking more so just about being grateful for the opportunity that we have, and we were talking about a list of things of why to be grateful. And we went through about 12 to 15 different things, and not one time was money ever listed on it. But for most of it, it was things like culture, the people you're surrounded by, the
Family.
growth, family. Like, it just kept repeating. It was so powerful to me that it's like, that was why people are here. Like, that's why people are grateful, is simply because of culture and the people around them. So, like, what is good culture for you, and, like, how do you build that?
The same as anything in life. It's a good question because culture is a big shock that can build momentum, and also you can lose momentum as well. But the biggest thing is like what I talk about is once I gain the influence and you're influenced by me, I never talk about as money as the motivator. I talk about having the friends and family, the people, like doing stuff together, pizza nights, game nights, like let's go to Dave and Buster's, let's do something, let's get out, beach day. I always talk about like where's something we can do as a group. I never say like, hey man, I'm only the people like I'm going on this trip, like I just blew all this money, I'm about to go buy a 10 grand watch. I don't talk like that. I don't walk around with an 8 grand watch on my wrist, and I don't walk in with 10 grand pair of shoes on.
Right.
And I don't walk in with a business suit on thinking I'm exactly the same as you. And I just paint the vision of it, a vision, a standard, and how you talk to yourself. Forget the word, I know vision, and then just how you like what you speak about to yourself, like your like what you talk about.
Right.
I can't think of the word, but that is why the culture is so strong.
Just that self-talk, though.
Self-talk and a vision.
Self-talk.
They know where we're going, and they know why we do it. You don't have those two things, you'll constantly stay stagnant. You'll gain momentum and lose momentum.
How do you preach a strong vision? Like consistent, strong, to where people see themselves in the vision.
Oh man, what it looks like, what it feels like, what you did to get there, how it feels when you got there. Like ask you just everything about it. Like I see myself at like 33, just in a foreign country, just with just endless amounts of just freedom. Like and I felt like it feels fantastic to sit there. Excuse me, just sit there. It's like great to like just sit there and like in that moment see. Like I changed this many lives. And I'm literally retired at 30, 32, 33 years old. I'm 26 now. I ain't got much time left. So that's why I'm in go mode. Like I'm getting after it as much as I can.
I feel that.
But just kind of like sharing it, like share with the people that care about it too. Like put it towards like talk to someone that has the same one. Like why keep a vision, solely to yourself? Like I'm not gonna say share it with Steve at the gas station, but people that are around you that you call family. If they don't even know your vision, then how are they gonna help you get there? Like I know like your vision for yours is like you have a vision in your vision. Your daughter is with you.
Yeah.
So mine's like I know that's what you are. So like anything that you do, I'm gonna try to 10x it on the back end, so it's even easier for you to do it. So when the daughter does get here, you go, boom. Like this is step 3 of my vision now is she's with me. Now right. I can easily go to 4, and it's like just a smooth organic transition. It's like that's just like standard. If I know that, if I didn't know that, I'd be like, who's your daughter? You have one? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even know. So yeah, I know what you're fighting for.
Because you alluded a lot earlier to your last relationship and how there was not a lot of attention, not a lot of value in it, and it stemmed from like your focus on one thing, right? How have you now cultivated life, like your life, with this one thing of being able to change other people's lives and making that a sole driving factor, but still now much better, may I add, have time for yourself and build your own life. And because, man, for a long time you were just so focused on one thing that I feel like you just never
As a robot.
there was nothing about Ty. There was no priority for Ty in
Yeah,
yourself. So like, when did you recognize that first, and then how are you how are you merging those?
So Zeke actually helped out a lot with that. I had no boundaries. I had no boundaries. I had no priorities. I really the boundary thing was the thing now. Like I'm rooted now. Like no one will put me off track. And if you want to join into my boundary, by all means. But back then, like there's like, for example, like if someone says, like you need to have something in your life where it's like that doesn't happen. Like no one will tell me to do something. That's a boundary. It's a set. No one will tell me, hey, go grab that for me. Grab me a glass. Grab me a bowl. Hey, do the dishes. Like no one's gonna talk to me like that. And that's like a boundary I've set. So now, like in my relationship now, it's like it's a communication thing. It's not like, hey, like go get that for me. Like it's a boundary I set before it even happened. So
Right.
same as sales, same in relationships, same in personal life. But that one, it's going back to that. It's like there, I had no boundaries and I had nothing happening. And then it goes back to delegating, man. I have people that step up now that help me, and it makes it you being one of them. Austin and Alec is like I have people that are stepping up to make it easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
That just it makes it like whenever if I'm going through something, I got something I got planned. Is that you are there to help me, and it's like well, I didn't do that at all before. No one's helping Ty do anything.
Yeah.
Ty will self build this, which a struggle that I could have just easily avoided if I delegated earlier. 1000%.
Okay. Okay. Then we're gonna wrap these up with like these last two questions. All right.
Sweet.
This one I'm trying to make a flagship question to end every podcast with, and that one is, what is something that's not normalized in society today that you think should be?
Honestly, man, it's still the thing. Like men can't be vulnerable in certain situations.
Man. Oh, go on about
That one
that.
is
Like,
a big
talk about why that's important.
big thing. Is like it's always if he comes off vulnerable, it's like no, it's like you look like down upon as a man instead of like. It's so crazy to me that like it's always a thing like that. Like men are always like. You need to be like everything is there's three things that's loved unconditionally. I think it's two, like a dog and a woman, and there's another thing,
A child.
and a child. Yes, that are loved unconditionally. So it's like a man always has to prove something to be loved, and it's never like that. And it's like that's why I love my relationship now, man. It's like I get it no matter what I put in, I get it. I get unconditionally love from her. So it's like now it's like, but across all the board, like a man has to prove something. Like you have to have a good job. You have to make money. You have to
be a provider.
You have to be a provider. You can't. Like how many stay-at-home dads do you hear about?
Yeah.
Very very rare. But I'm just saying is that, that is like a big thing. Is like, but if you're vulnerable and you're like, I can't do this alone. I need someone. You're like brushed upon, like move.
Yeah, no one talks about like the suicide rates just in like
Sure.
men alone. It's kind of crazy, and it definitely all stems from that like societal way of how men should be viewed. And it's probably like, I mean, it's cultivated over decades and whatnot, but still it's like how do you go about changing that now?
That's probably my biggest thing. It'd never be accepted. Probably.
Yeah, you don't think so? Man,
You just have that kind of percentage that hears you out. Those percentage of women or percentage of people that
not the masses.
they look for that in a man because they see it as attractive, what have you. But
Like that. So what we think needs to be normalized is definitely men being vulnerable and being loved unconditionally.
no matter what they
no
not having
matter
something
no
to
matter
prove.
yeah, no matter what they bring to the table, right?
Probably the biggest thing. That's why a lot of men go so hard in life.
Yeah.
Is for that reason alone. Because if not, then they won't
get it.
They won't get it. They won't get love like they're supposed to. They
Yeah.
have something to prove. That's probably my number one thing.
So the last question is going to be, this is where people come to find out what they need to know because you just don't know what you don't know. Like if you were to convey one thing out of this whole podcast to someone that you feel like they need to know, what would that thing be?
Man, that's a really good question. They're like what they're fighting for, if I could say. Like
Need to know what
they
they're
need to
fighting.
know like why do you go so hard? Like in detail, man. Like people always laugh at a why. If it doesn't make you cry, like it is not it. Like people have things of retiring their mom, like retiring their dad, like helping their grandma buy a house, owning a Lambo, like whatever it is, like if you don't know that, then like why are you on earth? Like why are you here if you don't know that? Like if you ever feel lost in a moment, like what am I doing? Like
Yeah.
why am I here? Is like reach out to people that have done it and like get help. Like biggest thing ever, like I need to know is that if you are going through something and you don't tell someone, you need to know that you should. There's actually a lot of stuff people should know that they don't know.
So,
But given that one is definitely that, like reaching out to someone, like if something is bothering you, is like to stop holding it in and tell someone. Like doesn't matter what it is.
Yo, I would double down on that. I agree with you there. Like, if you guys are holding on to anything, please talk about it.
Like whatever your leader is, whatever your personal motivator is, anything that, that is the person that has been through it and you don't tell them, you're doing a disservice to yourself.
Yes, and don't ever look at whatever you think that something you're going through is too small or no one wants to hear
that's
about
huge.
it. Like,
that is massive.
whatever you're going through or whatever you're hanging on to, it's not too small for anyone to hear, and two, it's not insignificant whatsoever, no matter what you tell yourself that is.
That's another one they need to know is definitely the why. No one's why is too small. No one's why is too big. No matter what you've been through, the reason why who you are today and in the position you are in today and where you're at today is because of X that happened.
Yep.
And your why paints that. So like definitely like just sit with yourself and actually understand like why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And what you're fighting for.
Because if you are not happy where you're at and you feel stuck, it's 9 times out of 10 probably because you have no clarity on why you're doing what you're doing, especially if you hate it.
Yeah, if you definitely hate it, yeah, you should not do it. 1000%.
Shit, man, Ty, I appreciate you, bro. I love you like a brother. This was a great episode, and I hope if everyone is listening that got value out of this, please just do one thing and share it with someone that you deem valuable, just to spread the value and just to get some more ears on what people need to know. Appreciate you, bro, and that's a wrap for today's show.